Hi guys, and welcome back to Movies That Matter with the Viking. And look, the Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers saga isn't going away anytime soon. We've seen so many hit pieces from Warner Brothers aimed towards Ray Fisher and trying to damage his career. John Berg responding in terms of Ray Fisher is hard to deal with because he wouldn't accept the new dialogue he was given when Zack Snyder left. And then, other people are saying that Ray Fisher is a liar because he's not coming out with proof. And the thing about that is he can't come out and say Josh Whedon, Jeff Johns did this and that, because that would upset the investigation that he is doing. Everything that Ray Fisher has done so far, his Instagram lives, his Twitter posts, has all been kind of constructive in a way that it shows what is going on behind the scenes, and that he is trying to deal with it, and also that Warner Brothers want to more or less ignore him and move on and don't want this to get any further. But like Ray Fisher can't, he's like he said it himself, he has so many people to protect, so many people who probably don't want to come forward publicly because they have careers, they have families and stuff like that, so they want to keep that stuff quiet, but also deal with the situation. And Jason Momoa has come out for support with him, and I'm sure more people will as well, but like a lot of it is being aimed at trying to disregard what Ray Fisher is doing, kind of discrediting his career. And now, like, if you know Collider, I used to watch Collider back in the day, and then I stopped watching them because I thought that their commentary was very biased toward Marvel, praising Marvel for the things that DC would do then, and then not praising DC. And then especially, they were very negative in the aspect of Zack Snyder's films, his vision for the DCU. And like, I just didn't enjoy watching their channel anymore because it just seemed to be too negative. Every day there was a story about Zack Snyder and Batman vs Superman and Justice League, and it just wasn't fun to watch anymore. So I stopped watching them, and I did back then like John Campea a lot. I watched John Campea then when he went on his own, and sometimes I still watch his videos. Now John Campea, of course, used to be a movie blogger back in the day. He's a YouTuber as well. You might know him, you might not know him. He has some very controversial takes, and he's one of the people who said the Snyder Cut didn't really exist. He's also said that Josh Whedon did a better job than Zack Snyder would, and with Justice League. And even though he says that, he always brings up the argument. But I'm the guy who loves Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is a masterpiece. I'm a great fan of Zack Snyder, but then he also kind of uses backhanded compliments in terms of Josh Whedon making the film better, and that this Justice League film wouldn't really be a film, wouldn't be too much different than the theatrical cut. So he's been playing that line for a very long time. And like, his favourite comic book movie of all time is Avengers. I think Avengers is average. I think Age of Ultron is better, and but he thinks that's the greatest comic book movie of all time. And like, he might have a kind of a, like, he likes Josh Whedon a lot, he likes a lot of the stuff he does. He gives a lot of praise for Josh Whedon, and like his greatest film of all time in terms of comic book movies is Avengers, and that was directed by Josh Whedon, so there's kind of a bias there. And I know you're probably thinking like I'm a Zack Snyder fan. Yeah, I am a Zack Snyder fan, but I don't think Zack Snyder has made the greatest comic book movie of all time. That for me is The Dark Knight. So, but John Campea has been kind of addressing the Snyder Cut for the last while on his channel now, saying he was right all along, that it hasn't been completed. It's just kind of stupid petty shit from him, instead of admitting that, look, I am wrong, this is a completely different film. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about today. He has been teasing that he's heard inside information about the situation between Jeff Johns and Ray Fisher and Josh Whedon. He even brought it up in one of his videos the other day, saying it to one of his co-hosts, that he got an email from an insider and that he will show it to them after. And then yesterday he was on his live as well, and he accidentally, quotation marks, accidentally put this email up on the screen. He said it was by an accident. An accident. He said, but okay, everyone can make mistakes, and maybe it was an accident, but why are the words blurred out? Why is the person's email blurred out? Why is their image blurred out? John Campea constructed this so that this would be shown on his channel, people would screenshot, and then it would get around. Now, do I think this is kind of a viewpoint from the Josh Whedon camp, trying not to paint Josh Whedon in as bad as a light as he is being painted right now? Absolutely. Now, is John Campea in cahoots with Disney, with Josh Whedon, with John Berg, with Jeff Johns? I don't know. That would be a very conspiracy type thing for me to say. I should put on my conspiracy hat, but like, it kind of looks like it in a way. Why would he put up this email? Why would he even talk about this email publicly? And why would he have the stuff blurred out if it was a mistake? And he does like Josh Whedon a lot, you know? So anyway, let's read this article. Now, this email, I've read this a few times to try and get the perspective of the person who wrote this email to John Campea. I was trying to get their viewpoint, their perspective, and what side they were kind of leaning on. But anyways, let's read it, okay? So it says regarding Warner Brothers Justice League Nightmare. Now, that's such a way to start off an email already. So it goes here. What most people don't understand is that the entire Justice League experience was an absolute nightmare. Now the J is for Josh Whedon, so Josh Whedon faced unreal expectations and deadlines from the executives almost immediately, and a toxic set environment like you wouldn't imagine. You have to understand that Zack Snyder had a very good relationship with almost everyone on set, so his departure was jarring for several reasons. It was their posse and a kind of tight one, and it was also a posse that Josh Whedon was never really taken into, adding to the relentless pressure that everyone from Jeff Johns or Josh Whedon to John Berg and whoever that's supposed to be, maybe it's Jeff Johns, it's blurred out, it's part of it blurred out, came something Josh Whedon wasn't expecting. See, the Avengers experience was tough on Josh, but everyone there, from the executives to the crew to all the cast, were all on the same team. Everyone checked their egos at the door and were all dedicated to making the best movie possible to Kevin, Feige, Marvel, and the fans. This was the top priority for everyone. Certainly not that every team was roses or that there weren't issues and problems like any production, but everyone who focused on the movie and doing what was best for it, Justice League was an entirely different experience. With the expectation of a couple of individuals, almost no one on that set cared about the movie. Maybe a better way to put it was that they only cared about the movie in as far as it was going to do for them and their careers. Who was getting the better framing, who was getting the choice lines, who was getting their scenes cut. It was almost about them. It just wasn't an environment Josh Whedon is accustomed to working in, and frankly, it doesn't help Josh Whedon. Isn't exactly a peacemaker either. It got contagious, something about theaters, by deadline. On top of that, a few specific people would never pass up the chance to remind Josh Whedon that it wasn't his movie. This became a regular bargaining chip whenever certain parties weren't happy with what was happening with their characters or their scene, and a lot more stuff was blurred out. Now, my perspective of this email is that it's from the Josh Whedon camp. Now, this person who wrote this email were meant to believe they were on the set for Avengers and on the set for Justice League after Zack Snyder left. Now, if you go on IMDb, you can see who worked on both productions, and then maybe you can solve it that way. But for me, this probably isn't even from one individual. This is constructive by the camp of Josh Whedon to put the John Campea to try and get it out there that he was up against it when he took over the production. The cast, the crew, nobody took to him when he came on, and it makes it look like that everyone was prima donnas, and Josh Whedon was working with prima donnas, and he was trying to do the best job he possibly could. So when he came in, it was a hostile environment because Zack Snyder had left. He was the one who took over, and he was dealing with these huge egos that didn't want to do scenes that Josh Whedon and John Bergs and Jeff Johns had in mind for the film. Things were changed, scenes were cut, and the actors weren't happy with this, and that's why there was a toxic set environment. It wasn't all down to Josh Whedon, John Berg, or Jeff Johns. It was down also to the cast and crew of the production. So basically, what this email will want you to believe is that everybody on the set of Justice League was basically a cunt to each other. And that's what this is saying. This is trying to paint Josh Whedon in a light that he isn't the one and only bad guy of this production. That everybody involved had a part to play. And my reading of this email, I've tried to read, I've read it so many times to get that kind of bias out of my head. But for me, guys, watch it yourself or read it yourself and you let me know. But for me, this comes from a side that's saying that Josh Whedon isn't this bad guy and he had to deal with some stuff too. This is a reaction from Josh Whedon. And why does he give it to John Campea? Because he knows John Campea will put it out there. It's amazing how he didn't give it to, say, Grace Randolph. You know, because she's got a bigger pull in terms of subscribers and YouTube viewership. You know, why John Campea? I just find it very, very strange that he would put the email up and have these things blurred out. Just show the entire email if you're going to show it, and don't be teasing that you're getting this email and that email from what happened on set. Just tell us, John. No, John used to be a blogger back in the days also, so maybe that side of him is creeping out also. I don't know. But do I believe this email? I don't. I really don't. Because this looks like it's coming from a person who was on the side of the Josh Whedon camp, who has the perspective that Josh Whedon isn't a bad guy. Someone who has worked with Josh Whedon before. They even talk about Avengers in this. They even talk about Kevin Feige. Even talking about Marvel. And the expectations coming off those successful films, coming on the set of Justice League and what he was trying to make. Then don't take the fucking film if that's what's going to happen. You knew you were coming onto a production that was going to be hostile, that was going to have an environment where people wanted to work with Zack Snyder, not Josh Whedon. He took it. Jeff Johns got him the job. He's the one who ousted Zack Snyder from it. Of course there was going to be a hostile environment. But tell me this. When you have Gal Gadot and her stunt double, and Gal Gadot doesn't want to do a certain scene, and he makes Gal Gadot's stunt double do the scene. You know what I'm talking about, that Flash scene. You have Ben Affleck coming back to reshoot all of his scenes, new dialogue. You got Henry Cavill's Superman, his face being absolutely butchered. Of course there was going to be a toxic environment. Of course the cast weren't just going to sit there and take this. Because they have worked with a good man in terms of Zack Snyder. And these people, I believe Jason Momoa, I believe Ray Fisher, that the place was toxic because of them. But I don't know, guys. I don't believe this email. Maybe some of it's true, but I think it's a very biased email. It's somebody who was on the set of Avengers, the set of Justice League, and it's trying to paint that everybody was a bad guy on this set. So I don't know. I just don't truly believe it. And I think this is kind of the person who constructed this email, or if it's from the Josh Whedon camp, they would want to be very careful on what they say and what gets out there. Because it's painting the likes of Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, and Ben Affleck for having huge egos and being kind of toxic as well. Is Jason Momoa going to take that? Is Ben Affleck going to take that? That people are making up stories that they're toxic and hard to work with, difficult to work with? I don't know. Now, of course, Ben Affleck isn't going to respond to some YouTuber and some email that's blurred out. But if more stories started to gather like this, being constructive by Warner Brothers or being constructive by the Josh Whedon camp, then I fully believe that Jason Momoa would say something, or Ben Affleck would say something, because that's their careers being fucked with. Again, after Justice League, Warner Brothers are willing to do this again with these actors, with this movie, even threatening Ray Fisher's career to an extent. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this email blurred out from John Campea. He didn't mean to show us, but have you read it? And what do you think of it? Who do you think this email is coming from? And do you agree with my thoughts that it's painting the picture that Josh Whedon wasn't such a bad guy and that he was dealing with a toxic environment, a bad environment already? Let me know, guys. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Give a like, comment, subscribe, come follow me on all the social medias, and we'll talk about the one thing we love, which is movies. It's kind of unfortunate that we have to talk about these stuff so much. The situation with Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers, it should be sorted out by now. It should be sorted out internally in terms that Warner Brothers should work with Ray Fisher, listen to Ray Fisher, listen to Jason Momoa, and sort out things and get rid of Jeff Johns if he is as bad as a person as they're making it out to be. And for Josh Whedon trying to save his own face now, because the man isn't getting work. He really isn't. He did $2 billion films with the Avengers, and after that his career has gone downhill. Jeff Johns probably won't be working on any big projects ever again, and John Berg is away doing smaller stuff as well. So these guys' careers are kind of in the mud right now. So what is the end game for Ray Fisher and everybody involved? And Josh Whedon is going to say what Josh Whedon thinks he can say to save his career and save face, and people like John Campea will put this out there and just try and paint everybody bad. But guys, let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. And until next time, have fun.